Hey folks, Mike here at Chasing Trail. I am on my dad's 2019 BMW R1250GS. He's taking a little test ride on my Norden. He's behind me. It's also giving me an opportunity to do a little back-to-back comparison between the Norden and the GS. So I'm already pretty familiar with this GS, having ridden it a number of times and owned one previously myself. So the first thing I noticed going back to back, the engine character is just much different. The GS is definitely torquier and more power down low. The Norden comes on in the mid-range. It likes to rev a little bit more. The weight difference, which is definitely apparent right from the moment you get on it to even now. I mean, the GS is very nimble, but you can still tell that it's just a bigger, more substantial bike. One thing with the GS that always drives me crazy, I think it's from the center stand, but when you go over little bumps, I think the center stand bounces just a little bit and you feel it through the foot pegs. So every time you hit a bump, you feel this something in the foot pegs. The GS it's really easy to go way faster than you mean to. I remember this from the last time I rode one. I'll look down and feel like I'm going 40 and I'm going 60. It's so smooth and comfortable that it hides your speed. You don't realize how fast you're going. Ergonomics wise, they feel pretty similar. My arms are slightly more stretched out on the GS in front of me, but I just put bar risers on the Norden and it has two different positions. I'm probably going to move mine to the forward position so it's more like this. Coming back to back, I definitely noticed too the tail lever front on the GS. I have mixed feelings about the tail lever. The anti-dive is definitely nice, and I think it provides comfort by kind of muting what's going on. On the flip side of that, I do feel a little less connected to the road, or just a little less aware of what's going on. I mostly noticed it back there a little ways when we went across the train tracks and I was kind of doing sharper little turns. I felt like I have no idea what the front is doing. In very generic terms, the BMW feels like a luxury sports car, like a BMW or a Mercedes. It feels premium and very comfortable. The Norden feels a little sportier and lighter. So let's feel the GS here at a little more spirited pace. Yeah, GS very torquey right from the bottom. Norden, you have to wind up a little more. So in riding the GS again, I'm kind of reminded of all the things I've previously stated or felt. I think the GS is the best all-around motorcycle that you can buy. If you want one bike to do everything, from twisty, bumpy roads to commuting to touring to light off-road, it can do everything and it does it all really well. I also still feel my previous feelings that it's just, I hate saying this because it feels, I guess if this is the only criticism I can come up with, it's a pretty damn good bike, but I feel like it's kind of boring. I still look at this bike and feel and look at it like an appliance or a tool. I don't know, I've also spent a fair amount of time riding various BMWs, both my dad's and my own, and I tend to get bored quickly, so that's probably part of it. It's just so familiar to me. It's maybe not as exciting as something that's just newer and different. But here I'm going almost 70, I feel like I'm going 50. This thing is really deceptive. It just handles so competently and smoothly that you don't realize how fast you're going. Watch out, bird. Some bitch. Quick shifter on the GS works fine, but it is a little bit clunky. Not as smooth as the Norden. His seat's more comfortable. He's got a Russell day-long seat on here. I'll slow down a bit and wait until I can see him. My right hand is going numb. Not sure why that is. Haven't had that issue at all on the Norden. Oh, fuck's sakes. Sorry, bird. Oh, shit. Big old pothole, too. Damn. I'm sorry, little guy. Fuck. I hate doing that. Did he survive? Oh, shit, he might survive. Hit the poor bastard. Not much to do for him now. I hope he survives. That makes me feel terrible. So the benefit of the tail lever on a road like this, it's so smooth. Probably the biggest thing I like about the tail lever is the anti-dive under hard braking. But overall, I do prefer a conventional fork. I just like the feedback and feel you get from it better. But from a comfort perspective, the tail lever does work really well. Oh, that was a big old bump. Yeah, this Boxer is a torque monster. It'll just pull right out of a corner. Okay, let's test the anti-dive function here. Yeah, see, pretty hard braking, and it barely dives. Okay, I think we're going to switch back here. Got some feathers on there. Let's go ahead and turn this off.
Don't forget to give me my fob.
I hit that poor bastard.
Yeah. Where'd you hit him?
Right in the front. Looks like he hit the radiator. I just pulled some feathers off the radiator.
Oh.
What'd you think?
It's pretty nice. I still like mine better.
Well, then you know which bike to keep.
I would have to change that lever, that shift lever. I gotta raise my foot every time to downshift it.
Well, you can adjust that easy. You just twist this this thing here and it will raise or lower it.
It's got nice power. It vibrates a little more, but it's not a really objectionable vibration.
Yeah.
It's got good acceleration. Great brakes. Goes over the bumps good. I'd have to do something about that seat. I'd have to get a seat like mine, probably.
Yeah, and this is more comfortable than the 890s.
Right.
Considerably.
But the thing that's the greatest deal on it is a quick shifter. That thing is so slick, up or down.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Just
very smooth.
never use anything else.
Yeah, very smooth. What about the weight? Did it feel lighter?
On mine, I couldn't really tell that.
Huh.
I know it is, but I couldn't really tell. On mine, the downshift, you got to have the throttle closed. On this one, you got to leave it open.
Oh, I usually close it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
If you leave it open, you can just keep downshifting it, and it'll just, it doesn't seem to mind, doesn't change speed. Changes the revs, but not the speed.
Yeah, I think there's part of the electronics that it matches the engine speed for you.
I gotta take a leak.
I gotta drink something. Alright, I'm back on the Norden. Happy to be there. Happy to be here. BMW is a fantastic motorcycle, and I stand by that it's the best all-around motorcycle you can buy, but it is not my favorite. So hopping back on here, the first thing I noticed, I didn't feel like the seat was hard before, but he's right. Coming off of his seat, this seat feels hard in comparison. The biggest thing is the weight. He said he didn't feel like he noticed the weight difference that much. I noticed it right away. This bike just feels much lighter and just easier to manage. He said he noticed the vibrations on this more. I feel like they both vibrate, but neither vibrate in a way that's bothersome. This one's a little more, yeah, a little higher pitched or higher frequency vibration. That one's lower, but they're both pretty subtle. If he offered to trade me right now, I would not trade, and he wouldn't either. So we both know we're on the right bike. So I have done a couple more mods to the bike. There's really not too much more I'm going to do, so at some point I'll do a build video. But I put a Vanash Motorsports case saver on. I also put on their bar riser, which raised the bars an inch. I'm in it's got two positions, a rear position and a forward. I'm currently in the rear position, but I'm probably going to move that to the forward position. Oh, he's right. When you get on it, you can definitely hear the air induction sound now. I put an Aero mid-pipe on through a spark arrestor on the muffler, because that function was previously in the Cat. I did a Rottweiler Performance intake lid. The main purpose for that is just to prevent dust from getting in the motor. I do plan to be riding off-road, and the place I ride with, it's often very dusty. I've heard issues with people getting dust into the airbox. The stock setup with the snorkels, there's no filtration in there. It just goes straight to the paper filter. The Rottweiler lid puts a foam pre-filter over that instead. So I did not do that for performance. They do make a performance intake, but I purely did it just for dust prevention. Beyond that, I don't really plan to do anything else. I did get a taller windscreen, the Expedition windscreen. I'm not going to put that on until it gets colder. In this warmer weather, I like having this short windscreen on. And I did get some heated grips. Factory ones, I'm not going to bother putting those on until it gets colder either. This section is always a little bit dodgy. Oh, there you can actually hear the exhaust a little bit. It's definitely not loud, but you can at least hear it slightly now under acceleration. Whereas before I really couldn't hear it at all. But now I'm back to I can't hear it. Oh, not another one! Fuck! What's with all these birds? So keep in mind, I'm only at 250 miles or so. I have had two minor issues. One, I'm not getting power to the 12-volt socket. I checked the fuse and the fuse is good. It's probably just a loose plug or connector. But since the bike is under warranty, I'm just going to ask the dealer to look at that when I take it in for the break-in service. I will have the break-in service done at the dealer, and then I will do all my own maintenance after that. And after putting the mid-pipe on last night and putting the spark arrestor in, I did anyway, after putting the mid-pipe on and the spark arrestor in, I was having the notorious cold start issue. You hit the starter, it fires up for a couple seconds and then dies. Fire it up again, runs a little bit longer, here's some popping in the exhaust and then dies. And then on the third start, it would finally start up, and it did sound like it was maybe running on one cylinder. The idle sounded really low, and then oh, there's a deer up there. There it goes. Anyway, then the idle would sound like it almost doubled, and I think that's the second cylinder kicking on, and then from there it was fine. And from reading on the forums and such, that was I guess it's been a notorious problem going back to the 790, the cold start issue, and there doesn't seem to be any fix for it, or at least not a consistent one from what I could gather. But this morning it didn't do that, so I don't know if the ECU just needed time to adjust to the slightly different configuration or what. I'm hoping that's the case. If not, it's just going to be one of those quirks